Hi, my name is Brendan. You're watching Arts Alive Delaware. So the opera's role in any community is sort of outsized. It sounds pompous to say this, but in any arts community, by nature of what opera does, we touch a little bit of different corners of the art. So when we perform a fully staged production at the Grand, we're including singers, yes, but costumers. We have an orchestra in the pit. We have artisans who build and paint the sets. So it's by nature of the fact that it's a multidisciplinary art form, I feel like we're naturally at the center of the arts community. But yeah, opera is a big, bold endeavor, and I think that nature sort of puts us in a central role in the arts community. OperaDelaware is the 11th oldest opera company in the country, founded in 1945, just after the war. And it was a volunteer initiative for a lot of years. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall back in those days when they were performing at Breck's Mill, and it was a social endeavor as much as it was an artistic endeavor. The company over the years, back in the early '80s was when they landed on the riverfront and developed our facility that we're still in today. I still marvel at how a group of volunteers had the skill and the grit to obtain and renovate that property, because it's a huge effort. Long history of family opera programming, children's opera programming, and new works, especially in the heady MBNA days. It seemed that new works were a big focus for the company. We've really shifted over the past few years to kind of get out to the world that we punch above our weight class, and we're close to a lot of communities. So we've had a lot of success in sort of pulling people in from outside the area, and so it's a great chance for us to shine a light on all of the assets that we have here in this state. People from out of town come in and see the Grand Opera House and they lose their minds, because there's really nothing like it on the East Coast. Back in 2016, in an interest of trying to bring people here from out of town, we shifted to a festival model where we had multiple shows going on at one time at the Grand. It was a big old game of beautiful Tetris. After COVID, we've sort of shied away from putting all those eggs in one basket one time of the year. So what you can expect today is generally a full-scale opera in the fall, a full-scale opera in the spring at the Grand Opera House, and then a whole mess of what we call second stage offerings at our facility on the riverfront. Smaller in scope, smaller in numbers of performers, but really compelling, interesting, intimate performances throughout the year. And beyond that, the performances that we do out in the community, especially through the use of our pop-up opera program, our goal is to sort of be everything everywhere all at once, And so in terms of things you can come to, two things a year at the Grand, which is kind of crazy to think about, right? This only exists for 4 nights. You can't stream it, you can't pause it, you can't rewind it. So we have to convince people to put it on their calendars first. But those who do are really rewarded, right, for showing up for that really unique experience that only exists for the 2.5 hours that you're there. It's really like nothing else. As mentioned, opera in its very nature collaborates with a bunch of different art forms, and we're no different. We routinely work with organizations like the Wilmington Children's Chorus when we need a children's chorus for one of our productions, with the First State Ballet, and with the organizations that you wouldn't be surprised we're collaborating with. Grand Opera House is another one. Although we don't work directly with the Delaware Symphony, many of the artists in the DSO are also in the OperaDelaware Orchestra. So we work with many in terms of producing the art, but then we have many other partners, I think, through our facility. We sometimes produce smaller scale things with Delaware Shakespeare. Delaware Shakespeare has their offices in our facility, and they have their rehearsals in our facility. New Light Theater works with us. So there aren't many arts organizations that we don't have occasion to interact with, either through direct partnership in producing something, or working with them on making our space available. It's the list of non-partners is probably shorter. Yeah, pop-up opera has been one of those things that's just reframed everything that we do. We are not the first opera company to send artists out into the community, but the tradition had been to send artists who are still in development out into the community. We choose to send our very best fully developed artists because we've seen what happens when a passerby walks by and sees the NFL quarterback doing their thing. They stop and pay attention. So pop-up opera has sort of served as the Pied Piper for us. I joke that it's the operatic equivalent of the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile, where when that's driving down the road, you can't help but look at it. But when we are stationed in a city park or at a public event on the street, it's really difficult to walk past it and not stop and pay attention for a minute. So it's literally brought people back to the theater. People have followed us back. But I think the greatest thing for the organization is that it allows us to say yes to more people. Traveling downstate prior to pop-up opera was a big challenge. Opera is very clumsy to move. But the fact that we know that we have this contained thing that's like a distillation of the experience that you're going to have, it's easy for us to be anywhere. And the art that we produce on the pop-up opera trailer is the same, whether we're at the Rehoboth Beach Country Club or the Wilmington Hope Commission or Open Streets Wilmington or in a donor's meadow in Chateau Country. The art is the same. The way we talk about it is a little bit different. So it's a huge marketing endeavor for us. We live in a reality where prior to the pandemic, less than 2% of the population interacted with opera. So why are we going to spend money trying to reach people in broad channels when 98% of the population doesn't know what we do? If we can introduce somebody to the very best of what we do, or at least one element of it, we get to overcome objections rather than confirm them. And so it started as a pandemic era, well, we can't be inside, let's perform outside. We did not expect for it to still be paying such extraordinary dividends and be such a part of our present and future, frankly. Many ways to get involved. The first thing to do is to come to a show, right, and see what it is we do. Visit our website. There is a tab where you can find out about volunteering, tab where you can find out about supporting financially. But I think the biggest thing that people can do for us is to, number one, accept that we can have great things here in Wilmington. You don't have to go elsewhere to see high quality art. Tell friends that. Let's echo that statement that we do punch above our weight class artistically in this town. The best way you can get involved is to help amplify that. And not just for OperaDelaware, I mean for many of our organizations. Websites are a great place to start, though, if you're looking forward to getting involved. Somebody told me once that great civilizations are not measured on the strengths of their economy, rather on the art that they produce. I don't know who said it, I don't know who to attribute it to, but it's really stuck with me. I mean, it's our identity, right? So why I think the arts are important here in Delaware is that we give our community the opportunity to gather at a prescribed place at a prescribed time and to experience something together. That's a uniquely human thing to do, right? To gather together, to choose to be in the same place and collectively react to something. I mean, the arts get us in touch with our humanity, and they cause us to think about things a little differently. Music specifically, forces us to kind of sit with subtext for a minute and not immediately jump to conclusions or have an opinion, right? But to really just sit there and think. So I think it's just important to humanity. At its core nature, it's a uniquely human thing, the arts. And I think those things need to be supported and amplified, today especially.
My name is Ron Ozer, and you're watching Arts Alive Delaware. Arden Concert Gild's role is to really bring eclectic, great quality, top-level performances by musicians and comedians to the state that might not otherwise come here. Arden Guild Hall is located in Arden, Delaware, which is only about 10 minutes north of Wilmington, right off 95. And it's a 170-year-old barn that was converted about 120 years ago into a community center. It's a center for all different kinds of community activities. Concerts is just one of the numerous events that happen every year in Arden. Arden Guild Hall has had indoor activities for many years, and certain outdoor activities were always part of our plan, especially like the Arden Fair every year around Labor Day. We have the entire town really turns into this fair, and there's live music that we present, the Guild, in our outdoor Shady Grove stage. And since COVID, we've actually been doing more outdoor shows in the summer, which has been really helpful. We do maybe 3 or 4 shows every summer in the Shady Grove Music Festival. The audience for the Arden Concert Guild really comes from the surrounding area, northern Delaware especially. Obviously we have members as well who tend to be more local, might be in the town of Arden, but even members are only, say, maybe 20% of them are residents of the towns of Arden Town and Arden Croft. And the concerts especially, depending on the size, of the draw of the artist, will draw from a bigger and bigger radius. Like in the past we had Los Lobos, for example, and we had people come 5 hours to see Los Lobos in such a small venue, 250 seats. Well, as I mentioned, we've had a number of big names over the years. We had, 2 years ago, we had Adrienne Lenker, who's the lead singer for Big Thief. And, they played at 6,000 capacity rooms now. And she had 300 people in a solo show in Arden. We had Cowboy Junkies. We've had Richard Thompson. We've had a lot of great names over the years. And we're continuing to book, really big names, like we have Suzanne Vega coming in October, Dar Williams coming back for the 3rd time. We have jazz groups at the highest level coming. We have a Sona Jabarta, who was just featured on 60 Minutes. She's the first woman griot kora player. It's the African harp from the Gambia. And she's playing at Longwood Gardens. That sold out immediately. Now she's also playing at Arden. The Arden Guild Hall is a really intimate space. Really any concert that's there, oftentimes the artist will tell us that they feel like they're playing for their hometown crowd. And I think it's a combination of the warmth of the audience, the warmth of the room. It's an all wooden room, a barn. with a raised stage. We sometimes have what we call the twinkling lights up on the rafters, very high ceilinged barn, and the crowd, I think, gives back to the performer so much in Arden, and people come away from the concerts just feeling, like they were really part of something special. Well, the Arden Concert Gild collaborates with a number of different groups. We're constantly in touch with organizations like the Grand Opera House, the Queen, the Kennett Flash, different promoters in Philadelphia, and we try to share information back and forth, and we often promote each other's shows here and there. In particular, like with the Grand Opera House, we'll often find a number of shows there that are good fits for our series, and they'll offer a discount for our members to, say, get $5 off a ticket at the Grand, which we might do for 3 to 6 shows during the season. And I think there's always shows at the Grand that are good fit for Arden, or shows in Arden that people at the Grand would be interested in coming to. I mean, during the pandemic, as I mentioned, we started these outdoor shows. We've always had the Shady Grove Music Festival and the Arden Fair, but we rarely, if ever, brought an artist in and actually presented them outside. And we did that this summer, for example. We had Hooray for the Riff Raff, and we had Jupiter No Quest from the Congo come. Last season, actually, the first shows we had after the pandemic were outdoors. We had Molly Tuttle in May of 2021, which was our first concert since the pandemic. And interestingly, we had people in masks that first concert, even though it was outdoors. 3 weeks later, we had Low Cut Connie, and nobody was wearing a mask outdoors. So we kind of could chart how things were progressing with the audience by just watching the way people behaved at our concerts. Live concerts are really a key part of community building in Arden, at least. We have these community dinners, for example, in Arden. And so if it's a Saturday night concert, we'll have maybe 120 people eating dinner before the concert, and we'll have a table for the band. And at least it's starting to happen again. Since the pandemic, it wasn't at first that the bands would even want to eat in the same space as the town, but now more likely they'll come and sit with the town, and we'll have somebody ringing our bell and giving announcements and saying, if there's tickets left, why don't you hop upstairs after dinner, grab yourself a ticket, and join us for the concert. So conversations that start during dinner continue upstairs during the hour before the concert starts, and then you have intermission with chance to be convivial with your friends. So what's important about the arts in Delaware? Well, I mean, I think Delaware has a really strong arts ecosystem. I mean, I find that there's always a lot of different opportunities between theater, art exhibits, concerts, comedy, and I think the more we do that, the more we make this a really good place to live. And I know here in Wilmington, it's been great to see more and more events at the Queen and at the Grand this year, and that drives people into the city, and the restaurants, there's more and more great restaurants as a result. I mean, I'm part of the National Independent Venue Association, and we've always tried to make the point that concerts are, a key part of the arts economy and of the economy in general. There's a study that shows that for every $1 you spend on tickets, like $12 can get injected into the local economy via hotels, restaurants, merch, all the employment that happens. So it's an economic driver. Well, we have a website, of course. So if you want to get involved in the Arden Concert Gild, come to our shows, or go to any Arden event, you could go to ardenclub.org, which is the website for our entire organization. And we have things like the Shakespeare Guild and the Arden Singers that do Gilbert and Sullivan. But then ardenconcerts.com links from there, and all of our concerts are listed there. We do maybe 20, 25 shows a year, plus the Arden Fair. You can find out all about that there. We have a lot of volunteers that help run the concerts. We have people at the box office, we have people at the bar, we have people running, cooking dinners, serving dinners to the bands. As a concert producer, certain concerts stand out. I mean, it's hard to pick one. Donnie McCaslin came, and it was almost exactly a year after David Bowie died, and his band was the band on David Bowie's last album, Black Star. So when they performed, they did 2 different Bowie songs that night, and just really world-class artistry on stage. A jazz band playing this Bowie music. One song from Low, for example, his 70s masterpiece. And I'll never forget that night. Just really an intense, emotional night of music.
Hi, I'm George, and you're watching Arts Alive Delaware. Well, the Rehoboth Beach Film Society runs the Cinema Art Theater, which is a physical art house theater, cinematic theater in Lewis, but we're probably best known for the Rehoboth Beach Independent Film Festival. We just did our 26th film festival this past November, and it was bigger and better than ever. We had more films than we've had in the past. We had filmmakers from across the country attend. We did more awards than we've given out in the past. So it was highly successful. And we have plans in the future to keep growing our film festival. We want to make it nationally known. The reason I'm involved with the Film Society and our Cinema Art Theater, which we're more than just the Rehoboth Beach International Film Festival. We do mini festivals throughout the year, but we operate an art house cinema throughout the year, and we do all sorts of other special events. But I think it's really important, and the reason I'm involved in it is because it's so important to have arts in Sussex County. We have, Sussex County is growing by leaps and bounds, and a lot of people are eager and thirsty to have access to cultural art. And the types of movies that we run, the independent movies, independent films that we show are so important. I like to say that what we bring is curation and community. There are films, vast amounts of films out there on different streaming services, Netflix, whatever, and you can sit at home and you can watch them, and that's great. I do, everyone does. But there's something about seeing a film in the theater with other people, not just seeing the movie there and sharing the emotion that those films bring, but also being part of a community and talking about them. We have a lot of people that come and just talk about the movie afterwards. We have different events. We have membership. People join our film society. So we have a real community, very welcoming, open community. And if people haven't been to our theater, stop by and chat with us. And the curation part of it, there's so much content out there on these streaming services. We like to think that we can bring the films to you, and a vast amount of films, comedies, documentaries, foreign films. So if you're afraid of an art house cinema being nothing but a French film that's really deep, it's not just that. We have lots of things. We even do Metropolitan Opera live. So we simulcast Metropolitan Opera. And people are really enjoying that because they don't have to spend the money and the time to go to New York to see opera, and they can watch it in a theater with great sound and with others. We do other things like that. We do National Stage Live from London. Those are recorded live. They're not shown live. We also do Exhibition on Screen, which is a series of films about various exhibitions in art museums, where the curator of that museum walks us through that exhibition. It's been really popular. So we do a lot of different things. We've even done some, we rent out our theater, and we've had some production companies do live cabarets where aren't really filmed. They're live people singing. We've tried that. We do lots of different things to bring culture to the area, which I think is so important. We're a very welcoming theater, and if anybody hasn't been to our theater, stop by and say hi. We have two theaters. We have a 100-seat theater and a smaller 36-seat theater, and a little lobby that's people come and hang out at and chat and talk. Or everyone, our regular patrons come and they know the staff, and it's a fun place to be. We have books on film, a little library. We try to do lots of things to help the cinephile have a place to meet, and it's a very welcoming place. So if you haven't been, stop by. There are a lot of other arts groups in Sussex County. We meet regularly with them and do different projects together. There's different things, government programs that we're trying to join forces with, or we do special events together. For example, the Lewis History Book Festival is a book festival, but we're talking to them about adding some films that may augment the book so that we can join forces and make a real festival. Our Rehoboth Beach Independent Film Festival is our largest film festival. That's held in November every year, and people can either buy tickets one at a time or they can buy packages to it. These are films that are just coming out. They might be nationally known films, or they might be very independent films. We have programs that are several slots that are just short films. Some of them you may see at the Oscars, some of them you never hear from again. It's just a fun way of exploring what filmmakers are doing out there. And we have other festivals throughout the year. We have the Black American Film Festival, the Jewish Film Festival, the Pride Festival, and those are just different segments of our market. We're trying to bring something to everyone. I think one of the biggest things about independent film is that you can walk a mile in someone else's shoes. So you can experience that human experience that you might not otherwise have a reason to understand. And I think that's the power of film, is to experience the human stories that are out there. And I think that's what our market wants, and I think that's what art is. Well, the Rehoboth Beach Film Society is a nonprofit organization, and we survive based on donations and grants as well as ticket sales. And we have a lot of people that really want us to exist. They want to have an art cinema theater in our area. So we have a lot of volunteers that give their time to help us sell concessions or clean our theater, or help us run the film festival. They're just amazing people. We have sponsors, people that donate to us. We have memberships, different levels of memberships that you get tickets with your membership, but also part of it is a donation. There was a volunteer that came to me, and she handed me a check for $500. And I think every moment that I'm spending that $500 in a way that would make her proud, so that she can have the theater at the ready for her. We do a lot of things other than film. We've done, like I said, the cabarets, we've done other events and special programs. We're working something with the Little League, showing a film, Ken Burns' film about baseball. So we have plans to work with, develop an educational program. There is a organization called OSHA Lifelong Learning, and they have a film class, and they meet at our theater and they watch a film and they discuss the film. We're trying to do something more for the youth, trying to develop film programs for the youth to get them involved. We have a number of kids that are volunteering or actually working in our ticket counter with us, trying to get them excited about filmmaking. One of our goals is to expand filmmaking in the Delaware, specifically the Sussex County area. And that involves bringing filmmakers there, developing filmmakers from our local population, helping them get the resources that they need to make films or to show films. I think supporting the arts is important everywhere. In I retired to the Sussex County area 5 years ago from Washington, D.C. And I think it's important to have access to artistic or cultural venues. I paint and I love the arts, and I got involved with the Rehoboth Beach Film Society because I think it's so important to have access to art. And I think the cinematic art is such an interesting way of expressing art. Film is a great way to explore human experience. I mean, we can't all have lived in a foreign country. We can't all have experienced a tragic event, or we can't all have experienced a crazy family or a quiet family or a traumatic event in your youth or something, whatever. We can't experience that personally, but it's really something human about us that wants to know, how would I feel in that situation? How would I feel if I grew up in that country? How would I feel if I grew up that color? I think that's so important, and that's what art is.